What's up, everybody? It's your boy, it's me, it's Martimus, back with another episode of Smoking That Ish. We are once again in the D Game Studios. Shout out to D Game 6923 on YouTube for allowing us to be here and allowing us to do this. I got Scruffy with me, as always, hanging out, chilling, being a great, perfect dog. Today, we're going to be talking about the military and marijuana. There's something you don't hear every day. Kristi Noem, once again, back in the news. A round two of a strain that we mentioned on an earlier episode. And, of course, the Sinaloa and Beltran-Leyva war. That and more, or pretty much just that, today on Smoking That Ish. What's up, everybody? Welcome if it's your first time checking it out. And, of course, welcome back if you are one of the people watching this repeatedly. Today, we're going to start off with U.S. news from an article by Marijuana Moment. Check them out on marijuanamoment.net. The U.S. House has voted to ban the military from testing potential recruits for marijuana. How's that? This was opposed by the White House, saying the White House said cannabis is a readiness and safety concern for the military in a statement. I also think that if this is a thing, for the military to be using it needs to be restricted the same way as alcohol would be restricted for the military. You can use it off duty, but not when you could potentially be on duty. And we all know that cannabis it stays in the system for 30 days, but we all know that it doesn't make you high for 30 days. Okay, that's ridiculous. It's not anything like that. It's the same as alcohol, where if you do a bunch, you might have a hangover the next day, but you have to do it a ton and probably drink, and it'd probably be the alcohol. Representative Matt Gaetz, a Republican from Florida, he's part of the committee trying to push this through, or trying not to push this through? I'm not sure. I think he's for it. No, wait, he's for it. Yeah, for sure. What the hell got on this? He said, because Joe Biden was running out of ways to turn off young voters, he decided to oppose any cannabis reform that didn't enrich Big Pharma. That's what he told Marijuana Moment in an interview. Delta-9 THC is the most common thing to show up on a failed drug test for armed forces. So I think, yeah, he's for this. He's saying that the White House is against it because Big Pharma doesn't make any money in it. So why would he be interested? I kind of feel what he's talking about. So Delta-9 is the most common thing to show up on a failed drug test for the armed forces. And most military branches have actually started waiving first offenses. My foot itches, you sick perverts, before you say anything. Like I said, most military branches have started waiving first offenses. Past marijuana use, no matter how small, though, will still keep you from receiving security clearance. So, any of you trying to figure out what's going on at Area 51, don't touch them doobers, okay? They'll never tell you. All right. The VA doctors are not allowed to recommend marijuana as treatment to service members, retired or otherwise. So active or not active, retired, whatever, not allowed to have marijuana. The Department of Defense now has to tell us how many members have been kicked out due to marijuana by December of this year, and they have to give it to us in categorized numbers of which branch, which years, all kinds of stuff. So we can actually see how many men and women have been either kicked out of the military or denied entry into the military over cannabis. And I bet you it's going to be a ridiculous number. In reality, all this should be hashed out by January 2025. due in some part to the rescheduling of marijuana. The military has to recognize the rescheduling of marijuana and put plans in effect for that. They can't keep treating it the way that they have, I suppose. The military is also going to be testing the effects of psychedelic substances and plant-based therapies, including marijuana, on PTSD and traumatic brain injuries. This is being pushed through by a House committee. It will also take into account the findings and data collected by all 38 states where cannabis is legal in some form. Their approved marijuana regulatory programs will be, the data from them will be collected and used for this research. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, she's really behind this, really helping push this through. She is making big demands that the Department of Defense fund these clinical trials. She's also, pushing demands for, categorized lists of what's going on, what they need, if anything. And she's really pushing this through the clinical trials for active duty service members. She wants all this funded by the Department of Defense. The House committee said, and I quote, wants to ensure the establishment of the program, wants to ensure that the establishment of the program is progressing without impediment. So they really, really want this pushed through, and that's all going to be hashed out by 2005, January of next year. Representative Morgan Luttrell, a Republican from Texas and a former Navy SEAL, has personal experience with psychedelic treatment. So that's a big plus. And he plans to meet separately with military leadership to collaborate on how to effectively administer the program. And that's what he said to Marijuana Moment. I think all of this is really, really good. At the beginning of the article, I thought it was just going to be a way for them to send more of us overseas to die, but in reality, it's a way to open the door for the rescheduling, to really take effect. Because if it takes effect in the military, the military is federal. So that's, that's a big deal. And that they're going to actually start testing on, active duty members for treatment for PTSD and traumatic brain injuries. I think psychedelics, mostly like psilocybin and stuff, I think would be fantastic for that. I think that would be really, really good. So this all sounds really good. The fact that a former Navy SEAL is backing it is also very nice. The fact that this House committee seems to be ready and they know what they want. They know how they want this program to go, how they want it to go off, and they want to hear actual factual what's going to be done about these things. They want to know. So, and they're giving them till next year to figure it out. So I think this is a good thing. I hope to hear more about this. I tend not to try and go to the same people over and over again. Like, this was a Marijuana Moment. Thanks to you, by the way, Marijuana Moment, for all of the articles that you guys are constantly putting together. I could literally do this entire show just off of their articles, but I don't want to do just one thing. So that was a Marijuana Moment article. Thanks to them. Now we are going to move on to some goodies. Unfortunately, this week we don't have a lot of goodies because my allotment is getting full. Damn it. So I got to save room for what I need. You sums of bitches. No, I'm just kidding. I did get something. I got a half ounce of that grape rock candy crossed with the banana buttercream. I got a half ounce of that for myself to smoke because that is available at Superior Buds now. It's available in an eighth or in an ounce. The ounce is $2.25. The eighth, I think, is 30 or 35 ish. And So I got a half ounce of that for myself because it's really beautiful. I like the way it smokes, and it has a really good high for me where it mellows out my anxiety without making me lethargic. Like, I'm not lazy. I'm still ambitious. I still want to do stuff, but I don't feel like I'm freaking out inside my own skin, But for you guys, I did pick up something just for you guys. We talked about this on an earlier episode. It is round 2 of the jelly donuts from the hills out there, West River. Much love, you guys. West River people they seem, not that people over here aren't nice. It's just West River seems like a different vibe over there, Yeah. So this is an 1/8. I'm not sure what it cost. Let me check this. Let me check this receipt. Anybody watch the episode from last week? Oh, get it in there deep. This was actually $25, dude, for this 1/8. So from the hills, price is coming down. Seal is still sealed for you sealed fans. Sealed. So cracking it for you. Oh. It's got the pop top for freshness. Oh, yeah. All right, let's check it out. It smells surprisingly strong for what it is. I don't think it's a very high THC. Yeah, it's only a 17.14, but it packs a stink like something in the mid-20s, dude. That's not bad. Let's get a factual look at it without the shades. New shades, by the way. Let me know what you think. I had somebody comment to watch out for the cartel, but most of the stuff that I'm saying on the show is stuff that's been said other places already and on some other podcast or crime show or something. I'm not calling out anybody who hasn't already been in the news or anything like that. I don't know. I don't have any secret information that I'm giving out or anything like that. I'm not, like a in the field reporter. I report on things that have been reported on, kind of, and just organize them into one thing for this. I can't stop smelling that. It smells really good. It smells kind of sweet, but kind of gassy. Smells sweet and gassy. For those of you who are a fan. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's close to the 4th of July, but it's kind of reminding me of those, like, snakes that you burn. Kind of reminding me of that on the back end. It's really pretty. Yeah. Got really, really good trichomes on it. It sparkles well. Good job on the jar, guys. I like jars. It looks very nice. It preserves it very well. It looks frosty. Going to be a nice keef producer, and it's going to be good keef, too. I don't really have a grinder on me, but I will break a edge off of this to look inside of it. Oh, yeah. It's gorgeous. Some people do, like, frost their weed with, like, Delta powder and shit. Not calling anybody out, but some people do that, and you can tell that right away. You break this open and look at it, and it's just as frosty, if not frostier, more frostily frosted with frost on the inside. Didn't mean to get all scientific on you guys there. Probably lost some of you guys with them big words. But you know how it is, Oh my God. It smells really dank. I mean, for $25 an 1/8, dude, clean that up. Clean that up, dude. Just go get it. Go get it. I'm gonna try this, and if it's some fire, $25 an 1/8, dude, is gonna get ate up, dude. But also, if I do ever have an ounce allotment, I am gonna use it for an ounce of that grape rock candy and banana buttercream that I really, really, really enjoy. It's really good stuff. And I bought a cart. I bought like a cherry fizz cart from Sodak Selects, and it tastes really good. It's great, but in like less than 2 days, that shit was gone, dude. It goes way too fast. And I know that's 60%, and Urban Extracts is 80%. So you guys, it does taste better, but you have to have added more terps to it, to get more of that flavor, which is fine. You add the terps from the plant to the thing. It's not, it's not a shady act or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that. It's just, I don't know. For me, it makes it burn up too fast. It burns way too fast, and having it be the same price for a half gram that these are for a gram. And I know these guys use CRC, which I will be covering pretty soon here on one of these episodes. So, and I don't know how dangerous it is or how bad it is or if it's bad or I talked about it a little bit on the last episode, so check that out. But I did go back to the Urban Extracts cart just because cost effective. It lasts way longer. Yeah. And, I know Jared over there, and he's a good guy. Like, yeah, he's a businessman and stuff, but I feel like he wouldn't do anything if he felt like it would endanger anybody's health. I don't think that he would ever do anything like that. So I'm going to continue to use it. Use, at your own risk, whatever you think. I will do more research on it and have that research out very soon. And, just, go with what feels good. So that's my choice, is to stick with it until I find out more. And I really think that we should start testing for the things that people are worried about, and just to see like what's a dangerous level and how much is in that. And then how much would have to be in something for it to be dangerous. We got to do that too. We can't just be like, nope, anything over 0.001% is too dangerous. We can't just do that shit. All right. Educated, scientifically, slowly, and effectively. All right. I'm glad you guys agree with me. All right. Local news. I got this from news.sd.gov. Governor Kristi Noem and her office are now accepting applications for fall interns. So if any of you want to learn how to build up a strong political career and then blow it all up and shoot yourself in the foot and tear it all down with a big dumb book, apply now. Okay? Go ahead. She will teach you all of that. But wait, there's more. You won't work with her, but you'll get to work directly with the governor's staff on projects meant to keep you busy and out of the way, just specially for you. Sure looks great on a resume, though. Make real political connections that will help you further your career, as long as you play ball. Cutoff is July 19th. Noem's documentary is also available now on Netflix. I imagine it's 45 minutes of solid gold. So I will be watching that this week, and hopefully I will give you guys an update on it next week. In case you don't want to watch it because it's boring or something, I'll let you know if there's anything good in it. And now on to the cartel war. But first, I'm a big fan of Time Suck with Dan Cummins, and I went back to his El Chapo episode because I was having trouble finding some research, some of the stuff on this. So I have a couple of updates, just a couple of short ones that I got from Time Suck with Dan Cummins, the El Chapo episode. El Chapo is short for shorty. It means shorty. That's what El Chapo means. So Los Chapitos, rather than meaning a fat woman of loose morals, like I said incorrectly before, Los Chapitos probably just means the shorties. So, oops. Apologies. The DEA agent we talked about was tortured for 30 hours, and it had holes, trigger alert, had holes drilled into his brain for no other reason than to cause him extreme pain. He was also shot up with adrenaline to keep him awake during the torture. And then after his death, he was wrapped in plastic and dumped in a shallow grave. And that's what really set off the DEA to go after those guys. And we talked about that on an earlier episode. New person that doesn't know what we're talking about, go back and check it out, man. Catch up. What are you doing? Just kidding. Anyways, this next part, which is the whole war between the Sinaloa and the Beltran-Leyva organization, I got from insightcrime.org. And I would like to use more than one source per thing that I do on here. But it's just me doing the research, dude. And I work a full-time job, and I got like 35 kids or something. A couple of dogs, puppies at the house, cats. I think there's a lizard there somewhere. Oh, and a rabbit, too. What I'm trying to say is I'm a pretty busy dude. But I do my best, okay? Because I really enjoy doing this show. And I enjoy that there's people out there that enjoy this. I really appreciate you guys. And it's really nice that you tune in and you watch this show. On to, before we talk about the war, you already know from last week what the Sinaloa pretty much is about. And before we talk about the war, who in the heck are the BLO, the Beltran-Leyva organization? They are led by the, shocker coming, you ready for this twist? The Beltran-Leyva brothers. Yeah, didn't see that coming, did you? Hector Beltran-Leyva, Alfredo Beltran-Leyva, and Arturo Beltran-Leyva ran the Sinaloa cartel alongside El Chapo's brother Arturo while El Chapo was in prison. Yes, indeed. They started out as one of Sinaloa's poppy-growing peasants, just like El Chapo's family. Eventually, the brothers went on to work for Amado Carrillo Fuentes as hitmen and transporters, quickly building a reputation for being ruthless and ambitious. Fuentes was known as Señor de los Cielos, or Lord of the Skies. I'm not sure why. I didn't have time to really look into that more. But sounds like he was flying a lot of shit around. Anyways, he was the leader of the Juarez cartel. He also established trading routes south to Colombia and north to the U.S. These traffic routes are still being used today. So he's kind of a big deal among smuggling. Established their home base in the BLO. They established their home base in, I'm going to give this my best shot, Badiraguato, which was also the home of El Chapo. Some evidence that they worked together as hitmen for the Guadalajara cartel. And now, a little bit more, the war. So a recap from last week's episode. El Chapo, 2001, escapes from Mexican prison. After he finds out he's about to be extradited to the U.S., he has his men dig a sophisticated tunnel to the bathroom of his cell. He also more than likely bribed quite a few prison officials. After escaping, he resumes control of the Sinaloa cartel immediately alongside El Mayo and El Azul. Several months later, Arturo is arrested and Carrillo Fuentes dies. 2002. After the death of their leader, Fuentes, the Beltran-Leyva brothers have several meetings with El Chapo and his associates. Juan Jose Esparragoza Moreno, a.k.a. El Azul, or the Blue, El Mayo, which means the May, Together, they form the Federation, aka Alianza or Aliana de Sangre or Blood Alliance. Then a bunch of people get married to kind of seal the deal and make everyone family, you know? This officially brings the Juarez-based family into the Sinaloa cartel. So Alfredo Beltran Leyva, you know, Alfredo, famous for his sauce, marries El Chapo's cousin. El Azul marries El Chapo's sister-in-law. And eventually El Chapo himself marries the niece of Ignacio Coronel, who was a partner of the Beltran Leyva brothers. And I think he was also the guy who was the go-between between the Miano cartel? I don't know how to pronounce it. And the what's it called? The Sinaloa cartel. I think he was the main one. I think he actually starts the war between Sinaloa and Juarez. But that's later on. Right now, we're talking about the war with the BLO and the Sinaloa. Skip to 2004. Return of the Fuentezes. The Fuenteses. Rodolfo Carrillo Fuentes, a.k.a. El Niño de Oro, or the Golden Child, and brother to recently deceased Amado, kills two of El Chapo's operatives in Juarez. So, El Chapo, Shorty being Shorty, has him assassinated. No talks, no BS, just has him killed. This kicks off the war between the Sinaloa and Juarez cartels that still rages on today, kind of. But the BLO are still on El Chapo's side at this point, along with El Mayo and El Azul. A few years earlier, a Juarez-friendly group called the Gulf Cartel had lured 31 Special Forces officers away from the Mexican military with promises of much higher pay, and of course, them not killing them for saying no. Get up there, weed maps. You're still good. Yes. And these men formed the Zetas, a powerful, brutal, and sophisticated hit squad. This prompts El Chapo to have the BLO form a security team to combat the Zetas, so the BLO starts the Pelones, or the Bald. They are led by Edgar Valdez Villarreal, a.k.a. La Barbie, and they immediately start to match the Zetas' brutality. They're not as organized, but they are just as horrible. Arturo Beltran Leyva, a.k.a. El Jefe de Jefes, or the Boss of Bosses. That's like a end boss in a video game. Just a horrible name. He forms... I suppose not a horrible name, the Boss of Bosses. But that's definitely been the end guy in a fighting game of some sort, an arcade fighting game. Has to have been. He forms his own extra special group of special forces, and he calls them, what do you guys think? Like the Cobras, the Falcons, the Dragons, right? He calls them Arturo's Special Forces, or Fuerzas Especiales de Arturo, or the FETA. Or FETA? Not sure. It's the feta. The cheese. The BLO's influence begins to spread thanks to the war between the Sinaloa and Juarez cartel, and by 2005, they're operating in 10 Mexican states, as well as the federal district, also known as Mexico City. Now, El Chapo wanted them in Mexico City so they could penetrate the security and political forces. But not only did they do this, they did it with alarming efficiency. And that same year, and this will actually come back to bite the BLO in the butt. That same year, the DEA records a conversation between Nahum Acosta, a close advisor to the Fox administration, which I imagine is a presidential administration in Mexico at some point in time, and presumably Hector Beltran Leyva. Hector, a.k.a. LH, super creative once again on the name there, was the man responsible for payroll, which included top members of the government's National Investigative Agency and No Ramirez Manduano, Mexico's drug czar. So he was on the same payroll as the National Investigative Agency. That would have been some bad news. So at the same possibly worst possible time, the BLO starts to get real cocky. Their egos begin to swell, and so does their public profile, leading to more public appearances, especially at extravagant parties. This, of course, troubles the Sinaloa cartel, who knows that the cops are kind of on to the BLO and kind of coming for them a little bit. The groups had recently been disagreeing also over who controlled a distribution route in Chicago, and this just made it worse. The relationship between El Chapo and the Beltran Leyva organization starts to break down. January 21st, here we go, 2008, Alfredo Beltran Leyva, the sauce man himself, is arrested. Shortly after, El Chapo's son is released on a technicality. Coincidence? El Jefe de Jefe does not think so. This, to him, confirms that El Chapo is working with authorities and is responsible for the arrest of Alfredo. So tensions boil over. Wartime. El Chapo's son is gunned down outside of a shopping center along with his bodyguards while waiting for his girlfriend to finish shopping. Ugh. Bitch got him killed. And he was, this is no exaggeration, he was shot hundreds of times. Hundreds. Not 100, but hundreds, plural, times. They wanted him dead. They'd no joke. Him, his bodyguards, all dead. The BLO, now a little bit afraid, aligns itself with former rivals, the Zetas, who are their own entity pretty much now. And they form some kind of super extra special killer guy forces, like the Power Rangers or something. And the Sinaloa cartel then aligns itself with the Gulf cartel, which the Zetas used to work with. And so the Zetas are now fighting the Gulf cartel with the BLO. And a ruthless group that burst onto the scene in 2006, the Familia Michoacana. And I have no idea what the hell that means. The family something. And the Sinaloa also start using their political and government connections to wear down the BLO. This is where all that infiltrating and creating all these connections for the Sinaloa comes back to bite the BLO in the ass. Dozens of BLO members are arrested and killed throughout 2009, culminating in December of that year when the Mexican Marines kill Arturo Beltran Leyva after a long gunfight. El Jefe de Jefes, the boss of bosses, is dead. He had barricaded himself in an upscale apartment in the same neighborhood, ironically, where he had attended those lavish parties. Things only get worse for the BLO after he dies. Valdez Villarreal, who was one of the higher-ups in the BLO, splits off to form his own organization. Hector Beltran Leyva scoops together what's left of the BLO and forms the South Pacific Cartel, but fighting between the two groups leaves them both vulnerable. January of 2010. Now it's just a steady decline to the end. January 2010, Carlos Beltran Leyva, brother of Hector and Arturo, is arrested. April 2010, Valdez Villarreal's top lieutenant is arrested. August of that same year, Valdez Villarreal himself is arrested. And by September, Sergio El Grande, wonder why I got that name, Villarreal, is arrested. He was working as Hector Beltran Leyva's top security officer. What was left of the BLO forms an alliance with the Zetas just to stay afloat. They pretty much absorb into the Zetas just to try and stay afloat, but it was in vain. By October of 2014, Hector L.H. Beltran Leyva is arrested by authorities, and he will later die in custody November of 2018. But back to 2016, December of that year, Alfredo Beltran Guzman, see where the Beltrans and the Guzmans, El Chapo and the BLO, where they kind of cross over there. But this one is a higher up in the BLO. He is arrested by Mexican authorities. And February of 2017, just a few months later, Juan Francisco Patron Sanchez, a.k.a. H2, another super original name, the man who took over for LH, is killed during a shootout with Mexican Marines. And after LH died in custody in 2018, the BLO divides into two groups now. The Guerreros United, which sounds like a fucking soccer team, and the Los Rojos. And those two groups immediately start fighting over the heroin trade and continue to do so today, even though nobody really cares. The war between these two groups displaced hundreds of people and helped El Chapo establish himself as a man to be feared. But that's nothing when compared to the war between the Sinaloa and the Juarez cartels, which is still raging today. And that all started by the death of one man who? Ignacio Nacho Coronel. He was the link between the Sinaloa and Mayenio. I don't know how to pronounce it. Cartels. He was killed by Mexican authorities in a gunfight, and his death drove a rift between the two groups, which causes the Mayenio, I'm not sure, cartel to fracture, creating the Cartel Jalisco New Generacion, or CJNG. Thanks for smoking that ish.